Yes, guys, let's do a little breakdown of my track Marauders. I forgot about the fact that I haven't done a breakdown on this yet, because that's always a great idea for a video, a track breakdown, you know? So, yeah, in this breakdown, you're basically limited to what I can give you, which is all that I have on my laptop, which is basically the most recent STEM version of the project, you know? And I actually finished up this STEM version before I left Europe back in November or end of November, beginning of December last year. And I'd already scheduled the track for release. But what happened was that basically, I kind of I came away, and then it was close to the release date, and I listened to the mix again, and I realized that I could still do better. I wasn't actually happy with the mix yet, and so I actually postponed the release, and I didn't even have the files with me to change it, so I had to basically get one of my mates to go back to my other computer and send me the files, you know. So he sent me this project, and then eventually I was finally able to have another crack at the mix down, and so this is then the final mix down. But what you have to know is that it's already been bounced out a lot, you know. So I've already bounced stuff out into stems. You guys who follow me for a while, you know I'm a big fan of bouncing to audio and moving on, and I work in audio like completely. If you're the kind of producer who has like a MIDI, like a MIDI instrument, like a synth in your project arrangement, and then you're not sure if you're happy with it yet, so you leave it there, and then you might want to come back to it. I'm the opposite of that. I'm literally like, okay, what audio files are in the project now? What needs to be done? And there's no going back ever with me. Like, it's always forward, forward, forward. And if you messed it up, then it's your fault. And that's how I work. And so then that's how I end up always bouncing out stems and everything, and eventually end up with like a final stem project, which is my last kind of thing that I'll work with, you know, before the track's done. So let's have a little, you've heard the track already, but let's just play a little bit of the drop, for example, just to remember it. All right, let's dive straight in then. I can just show you some of the stems basically, and talk about some composition stuff. So this is the drums. So I love this drum group. It's got massively fat kick, massively fat snare, loads of like lovely little bits of Foley. Some like clicks and things, lots of little rhythmical sounds. If you sort of listen around the kick and the snare, there's a lot of rhythmical things going on. And you've got this background like splash layer that adds all of that depth as well, which is really important, you know. But yeah, I can't really go and break down all of the individual drum layers because it's already been bounced out into a whole file, you know. For the intro, some kind of like rolling breaks, lots of reverb, low pass stuff. Yeah, these kind of nice like drum fill elements coming in before the drop. And I had a little like sort of break fill just before the drop as well. That, nice and simple. All right, and yeah, they pretty much stay quite similar. Just a few little breaky kind of fills. Yeah, and things just in different sections might become a bit more complex rhythmically as well, as you kind of hear on this part here. kind of like extra break in the background, some like ghost snares, and then here you've got this like amen fill. But for the main part, you know, the kick and snare are like 90% of the drums, you know. The rest of it's all like really, really low background stuff. Like it's basically just kick and snare, you know. In terms of like the priority and the power, it's like 90% just kick and snare because I needed all that room for the bass, right? What I've got below here, below the drums, is a ghost kick and snare channel, because when I got my friend to resend me this project, I realized I needed to do some more sidechaining and better sidechaining. So I had to basically create 2 ghost channels, you know, sidechain channels, muted sidechain channels, and yeah, put audio files wherever the kick is, put audio files wherever the snare is, and then yeah, essentially use them to trigger the sidechain on the bass, for example. So I could have more sidechaining because I hadn't quite done enough, you know. But my main thing that I was like not really happy with the original mixdown was the way the bass was sounding. So in this project, when I sort of redid the mixdown, it was a case of like relayering up the bass with more harmonics, really. But here we also have another little thing. So this is what I'll do. Like I've mentioned this some time ago on YouTube, so it's not completely new information, but what I often do when I come towards the end of a project is that's when I'll start doing like, yeah, nuke layers or, you know, parallel processing layers on top of my main groups. So for example, on top of my drum group here, I've done like a parallel layer, right, which is reverbed. I apologise if you can hear like motorbikes in the background, because I just realised there's like so many motorbikes going back and forth on this road near where I'm staying, but hopefully it's not too disturbing. And now you probably are going to pay attention to it more. But yeah, so this nuke layer, it starts off with 100% reverb, right? And it's a tight reverb. It's 200 milliseconds white blur. But without that, it's going to be just transients, you know. But the reverb, it takes off all those transients, so it's just like kind of the washy signal of the drums almost, you know. And this adds like a whole room sound and new depth and dimension to them, you know. You know, without them, without the layer. It's a lot drier. It adds this whole like extra tone on top of the drums, to be fair, and so you don't really hear it like in isolation because there's always bass and stuff playing, but it just gave the drums like more impact in the whole context of the whole mix, you know. But yeah, it was just that reverb most importantly, and then taking out some low end, and then just shaping the transients, like tightening it up because the reverb was quite long, so really tightening that up quite a lot, taking a bunch of low end out, again over here like tightening the drums up a bit more, taking low end out, just like trying to blend it with the original and blend it into the whole mix as well. Narrowing it as well, because the reverb always widens things, you know. But I don't necessarily want it to be that wide always, you know, so that kind of always depends. Yeah, compressing just to like also control the dynamics of the layer. And then mixing it in the volume, like quite nice and low, so it's actually coming up to like -14 or so. But yeah. It gives the drums like more presence, like when the whole mix is on, because the whole mix is so busy and full and just full of that bass, and so like it's just a way basically to feel like you're getting more volume from the track. That's the main reason for doing that layer, you know. It's mainly to like try and let the drums be heard a bit better, you know. So yeah, that's the drums, right? Let's move on to the bass, and yeah, we have lots of bass in the intro as well. Composition wise, I have this main like lead, this riff kind of hook, dum 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 dum, and this is a synth lead I probably created at some point. It's probably on one of my preset packs, to be fair, like on Faceplant or Vital. I'm not really sure. I can't remember now, but basically. That's my main lead, and then in the background you've got loads of like granular, scratchy, weird FX and things like that. But the point that I'm trying to say is that lead like comes in again later, but when you hit the drop, the lead disappears and you just have this new bass, right? So it's a bit of a nice setup composition-wise, because you create the tension with this like bassy lead, and then you hit the drop and it ducks out completely and you've got a new fatter bass, and then later on you have that motif returning of the lead again, you know? So over here again it returns. In its fullness, because in the intro it was still a bit tamed, you know? I just used the same kind of lead sound and bass sounds to create droney atmosphere things for the intro as well. So I'd use the same textures over again, you know? Building tension and volume, you can see in the audio how the file, like, it increases in intensity before it gets to the drop, you know? And then that bass on its own is great, the main one. I really took a lot of time to EQ that. And it has like a nice melody on it. And you've actually got some other stuff already baked into this file, so it's not just the bass, it's already got like loads of layers with it as well. I'd already bounced out that bass, layered it up a couple of times with some kind of like distortion layers on it, different types of distortion layers on different parts of the bass line, and then rebounced it out as a whole bass line file again. And then now, once again, I've resampled it here in these like 3 nuke layers, right? So you've got the main bass layer, which is just honestly, it's still kind of like 95% of the whole sound. And then these nuke layers are pretty much adding like a few percent. A really scratchy distortion layer to make it more audible in the high end, because that was my main beef, was yeah, it felt like it just wasn't cutting through enough in the highs. When I, listened to the project again and decided to postpone it, like I realised the bass like didn't have enough high end still, because it was a bit of a nightmare to mix this track. Honestly, it was a real headache. Just reopening the project now gives me like some kind of, how can I say? Yeah, past trauma coming back back up again. But yeah, no, this scratchy distortion layer on top is a new layer that I made, well, that I think it really needed before I could actually release it. So without it, and with it, you'll hear it actually even more clearly in context with the mix, because that's really why I'm doing it. I'm kind of doing it so that the bass stands out more in the mix. Without it. With that treble power. Yeah, so for me it really, really needed it, because I wasn't quite happy with the energy on it yet, And so, but all I did for it really was just like sort of distort it and cut out the low end, So I put on some like tape emulation first, then I distorted it. I used the kilohertz distorter, the shaper table, the upright bass setting. It just kind of felt right at the time. Then I put a little bit of convolution reverb on, and then yeah, EQ out the low end, EQ out the low end, compress it to like control the dynamics, EQ out some more low end, compress it again to control the dynamics some more, make it a bit narrower again, and then EQ out more low end. Just keep blending it until it fit with the original, so it felt like it was just the same sound, just with a new pimped out high end, you know, just blending it in like one piece at a time like that, you know. Yeah, that's basically the main layer that I added on top of it, you know. But down here, it's another little layer. This is more like the kind of drum layer earlier, like just pure reverb convolution. So this is like this layer here is similar to the drum layer where it's 100% reverb. It's the same kind of thing on the white blur, 200 milliseconds, and then you don't need to know what's next. It's just shaping the transients and yeah, like tightening it up and taking out a low end, basically, taking out more low end and narrowing it again, you know. So that one is more like a dimension background layer, but this nuclear, which is much more in your face, is just like high-end grit that makes the bass sound a bit. Yeah, it's this high-end grit that makes the bass pop to life more in the mixdown in the high end. Without it, it doesn't have enough energy, you know. So that's it. We can like look more at the bass, like what happens later. For example, let's see what goes on. Like I have this main melody, and then it goes into the part with a kind of switch up, you know. Got a nice little cool and response there, like a dum dum, and then the lead. So yeah, it's composed nice, with a nice cool and response in mind there. What you've got under this lead as well, this would be nicer if I could go back to previous versions to show you, but I don't have them, unfortunately. So, but basically you've got the lead, dum 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 dum, and then underneath it you've got the other bass, which is the same kind of patch as the main bass, but it takes a background role now, and it's like sort of sitting underneath and in between the gaps of the lead. And this was a nightmare to mix down, let me tell you, because it had so much low end and the lead bass needed so much low end, and so to get them to work together it took so much side chaining and EQing until it was right. But yeah, eventually I got it to sort of fit in an area where you kind of hear them both and they both work together, you know. So listen to this sort of other bass that sits underneath the lead stabs, you know. And you've got these parts here in these fills, where basically what happens is this is where the amen drums come in, right? And here they take over a bit, and I actually bring the leads down, like the lead stabs, the dum 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 dum. They actually like go down in volume a bit, as you hear. They're not like in the foreground as much. And then as it like loops back, you know, like the leads go more in your face again. And that was just like a dynamic thing where I wanted to like prioritize more the break, the amen break, but I didn't want to like cut the leads out because it felt like it was missing then. So it was a case of like just sacrificing the leads, making almost like a version 2 of the leads that is like more in the background just for that part. But yeah, that was cool. Again, that took quite a while to get right in the mix so that the energy kind of flowed well, you know. Here we go into the section where the bass kind of becomes So you can hear like already in that bass file, there's lots of like texture and granular bits and Foley and stuff all caked in with it as well, just to add interest. But the bass here, you can see in the audio files, it has more of a, more gaps in the arrangement. And this is where the kind of this arpeggiated fast lead. This is where that like takes more of the like the lead role, you know? So the bass is a bit less and you focus more on this lead, you know? Breakdown's pretty simple. I don't let it linger for too long and I jump straight back into the drop again fairly soon. I love this second drop. It might be my favourite part of the track. I just remixed the idea of the bass line and had a little more funky groove to it and kept that lead running for the second drop as well that came in at the end of the first section, you know. I basically like took the elements that I'd already used and just rearranged them to create a new groove. That's all I really did for that, you know, but it worked out quite nicely. And let's talk a little bit about the rest of the sounds before we finish up. So this is, all the other stuff. Atmospheres, leads, and bits like that. You know, I could talk about this track for 3 hours, but I might not bore you to tears. Maybe some of you will want to see me talk about it for 3 hours, but I'm trying to keep the video length to like 20 minutes or 25 minutes or so for this, so I'm going to brush over a lot of things, you know. Like, I can talk about all the background layers individually, but like, what are the cool ones that I really like? I'll tell you what I really like on this track. It's that little vocal sound there, that makes the track for me, that sound. It's like every track should have like one piece of ear candy that makes or breaks the track, and for me it's that vocal there. And because if you hear it with the bass together, you know. Well, it's just there in the background, but it's in the exact spot that it needs to be for the composition, you know. You know, it's just that. It's like a martial arts scene where you just getting that one punch in, just in the right place, you know, that one punch knockout. That's exactly how that fits in the structure for me. Like, that kind of sound on that exact timing is what creates the vibe for the whole track, in my opinion, you know. Because it's all about the narrative of the song, you know. Like, once you've done all the drums, you've made them fat, you've done all the bass, you've made that fat, you've done a cool melody, then how do you tell the narrative in the song? And the narrative is all told in the details, you know. So it's like this. These little pickup, you know, these very tense, high-pitched synth pickup notes just before you go back in, you know, even just the rest here, this folder of like leads and FX and atmospheres, like even on their own they tell the story, you know. You know, they like set up the energy and tell that background narrative so that when you got those fat basses in, you got those fat drums in, it comes together as like a more cinematic piece, you know, like not too dry and uninteresting sounding, you know? So that's why I put like a lot of detail in the background stuff. And to be honest, it's all just like one stage at a time, one sound at a time, one step at a time, adding to the vibe. Like I can't really, you know, that's just my production process and my workflow. It's just like picking this part here, that has a vibe in that spot, that little sound has a vibe in this spot, all these background sounds that move around in different places to like add or take away from the vibe, hopefully add to the vibe. But yeah, that's basically my little mini breakdown for Marauders. I'm not going to go too much into more detail with it. Suffice to say, just wanted to say that expression, suffice to say, it's a great expression. Yeah, I got slightly lazy at the end, but I don't think it was too lazy though, because I do re-loop the first drop again, you know, and I like to keep my songs progressive so that every 16 bar is different, and they all are up until the very end when I re-loop the first drop, but I think I'm allowed to do it once. But also it's quite interesting because I kind of finished the track nice and short there. I always say like write an interesting piece of music that's 3 minutes long and get the audience to be captivated by a 3 minute piece of music first before you try and think about doing like some sort of 7 minute wonder song, you know, because if you can't captivate an audience for 3 minutes, you won't be able to do it for longer. So I still, on my journey, you know, I'm still trying to make the most. Now you've got a dog barking as well, so thank you. Woof, 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 yes, we all know that you're alive. Thank you. Airbnbs, some places just can't get any peace, can you? No, to be fair, this place is very, very peaceful in general. But yeah, so what was I saying before the dog started barking? Yeah, I tried to write a 3 minute long piece of music that's captivating from start to finish. That's my goal. You know, and try and do the best sound design and mix down that I can. That's just my favourite way of working, you know. I wish I could do a 7 minute long masterpiece, but the amount of detail I try and go into on the background, it would take me a year to do a 7 minute long song. Like this song already took me like 2 or 3 months, I would say. Not obviously every day, like on the back burner, because obviously I don't have time to produce every day. But yeah, that's a little mini breakdown. Hopefully you learned a little bit about something. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments section as well. I missed over, you know, I skipped over loads of stuff, but maybe there was a couple of nuggets in there for you. All right, thank you for watching, my G's. May I remind you as well, if you guys want to go more in depth with me on this project, or if you want me to go more in depth with you on your project, you can book me for a production class. Links for that are down below. You can also come along and join us on Discord. We're just starting up our next feedback live stream, our group live stream, where we basically, yeah, we all come together and, well, you guys will come together and show us what you've been working on. And I host the stream, and I do my best to create a nice supportive environment and get the vibe going. And yeah, great place to share your sound and be part of a community. So come along and join us on Discord and participate in our next stream. It's coming up very, very soon. And yeah, if you guys also want any presets, like I mentioned, the basses in here most likely are on my preset packs, because what I tend to do these days is I'll make the preset packs, and then I won't actually use them in my songs usually until they're already released, like as a preset pack, you know. So recently, you know, a lot of the songs that I do, I use sounds from my like some of my older packs as well, you know, like some of my really old ones. I'll still use them. I still think some of the old ones are great, you know. But yeah, check out my packs on my website if you want any, for Vital, Phase Plant and Current. And yeah, mixing and mastering, you want me to help you with that for one of your projects, just email me, info@artifactmusic.com. And if you actually want me to come and DJ in a place near you, and you have connections to facilitate that, then you can also email me at info@arteffectmusic.com. All right, my G's, that's enough from me today. More from me very soon. Take care. Much love.